In the beginning, before time began, life was difficult for the Aborigines. There was no sun and no moon to shine upon the earth, and everyone had to search for food in the darkness. And anything they found, they had to eat it raw. Then one day, first man and first woman were rubbing two sticks together as a game, when all of a sudden, by chance, smoke, heat, and flames blazed up out of the sticks. It was the birth of fire, heat and light for humankind. They realized they must never let this fire go out. So first woman took the bigger stick and held it up as a blazing torch, and first man took the smaller stick. But as the story goes, first woman became the sun, and every morning the sun woman rises in the sky. By noon it's hot, man, hot, hot, because she's up there cooking her midday meal. Then she disappears over the western horizon. That's when man moon takes his turn in the sky, and with his smaller torch dispels the darkness of the night. Now if this jewel around my neck was a scale model of the sun, how far away would the Earth be? Well, the planet Mercury, let's say, would be a speck of dust on my shoulder. Venus would be at my elbow. And a tiny speck on my finger is the Earth, moving on its year-long journey, traveling around the sun. A journey you can see in this model. The sun would be 1,000,000 times the size of our Earth, and much, much further away. But at least we can see what goes around what. The Earth spins around once a day. The moon goes round the Earth once a month. And they both together go around our sun once a year. It's the first and biggest clock that people ever used. The sun shining on planet Earth. The sun is always shining on the Earth. So half the planet is in daylight and half in night. As we come into the light, we see that there are long shadows, the cool of dawn. The shadows grow shorter, the day gets hotter, and it's midday. Then afternoon, the shadows lengthen again, the cool of the evening. Then nightfall. But if it's us that's moving, how come it looks to us on Earth as if it's the sun that's moving across the sky? What's going on here? The Earth spins around once every 24 hours. The sun stays still, but as we look at it, it seems to move higher and higher into the sky. If I put a camera down there like so, you can actually see the view from our model Earth. The sun and me. Let's start in darkness. Night ends and we're looking towards the east. The sun seems to rise into the sky. The day goes on and the sun seems to travel across the sky. Midday. We look south. The sun high in the sky. Afternoon, we look to the west. The sun is lower and lower in the sky. Sunset. But how come we get more light in summer, long summer days, much longer than the days in winter, same sun, same earth? So what's changing?
As the earth spins on its axis, different parts of the earth go from light into dark, from day into night. But what if the earth was tilted like this? The northern hemisphere pointed right at the sun. Britain would be in sunlight all the time. And Australia over here would have darkness all the time, endless night. Now things aren't as extreme as that. The earth isn't tilted right over, but it is tilted enough to make a big difference to how much daylight there is at different times of the year. In June, there are 24 hours of daylight. Up here, near the North Pole, it never gets dark. In Britain, we don't get as much daytime as that, but our days in summer are twice as long as our nights. But still spinning on its axis, the earth travels around our sun. July, August, September, October, November, December. And now, 6 months later, things would be very different. Now, the Arctic never gets into the sun at all. And in Britain, our nights are now twice as long as our days. That's when Australia, on the other side, in the southern hemisphere, gets its turn to enjoy long days. Remember, the hours of sunlight vary depending on where the earth is on its journey around the sun. We are all traveling through space on planet Earth. But some people have actually journeyed away from the planet. Massive, powerful rockets thrust astronauts up and away from Earth and out into space. Many space flights have orbited the Earth, which looms huge in the sky. The furthest humankind has ever traveled so far is to the moon. The famous first steps.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Footprints where no one has ever walked before. Because the moon has no atmosphere, the sky is black, not blue as on Earth. The Earth rises above the surface of the moon, lit by the sun. The Inuit believed that the sun and the moon were brother and sister. One day they were arguing, and the boy pulled his sister's hair and scratched her, and she ran and escaped by climbing into the sky. Hot with anger, she became the blazing sun. Her brother chased her, feeling so cold towards his sister that he became the moon. With all this chasing, he was using up his strength. And as he got closer and closer, he became thinner and thinner until he faded away into nothing. So his sister, the girl's son, said she would feed him as long as he kept far away from her. She fed him rays of light more and more until he was whole again. But he broke his promise and he chased her, and it all began again. And so it goes on and on every month to this very day. But why does the moon seem to shrink and grow, to wax and wane? You need to imagine, and you need your own moon.
The moon is lit by the sun, always half in light and half in darkness, just like the earth. But the way the moon looks from outer space isn't always the same as it looks from our earth. If we use our camera, we can see the view from earth. The moon half lit, half dark. But as the moon orbits the earth, watch how things look different. From down here, we can see less and less of the side lit by the sun. So the moon wanes. It seems to get smaller and smaller. After a week, it disappears, and we look directly at the dark side of the moon. We can see no moon at all. The very beginnings of a new moon appear as the moon moves away from the sun in the sky. Now the moon waxes, seems to grow bigger as we see more and more of the lit side. 2 weeks after we began, and from Earth we can once more see half the moon. The moon seems to grow once more as we see more and more of the lit side. And after 3 weeks, we look straight at the lit side of the moon, a full moon. And now back to where we began. 4 weeks have passed. The moon has not changed at all. Always half lit and half dark. But to us on Earth, it has seemed to change. As often in this life, what you see all depends on how you look at things. So keep looking.